Assistant Professor, Department of English, and a very hearty welcome to this beautiful evening day to all the esteemed participants who have joined us today in the RGU Speaker Series on the very, very important topic in the current time, entrepreneurship, dare to dream. So before we get started with today's session, let us quickly brainstorm with a few words that may suitably define entrepreneur. I'm sure you must have got some fit words in your mind. Certain words also that comes immediately to my mind, which are an entrepreneur is someone, a risk taker, somebody who is a believer in the self, somebody who is the worker of a logical mind, then someone who is adept at research, market survey, and also strategizing. And also one sideline the conventional approach to create new ways to think for the not only for themselves, but also for the others. It is said every great dream begins with a dreamer. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm most honored to get the attention of our speaker for today's deliberation, Sri Namit Bagoria, leading first generation entrepreneur of the country. Here heads the Bajaj Group of companies. He has built his flagship brand Cucina from scratch and established it as a leading brand and a household in kitchen appliances solutions in India. Namaste and welcome to RG Bagoria ji. Welcome to
Thank you.
Banani, good morning to you. But Banani, voice is cracking. I mean,
yes, voice is cracking and the speaker.
A lot of noise is also there. So Prabhu and Vijay, you have to see that why there's a lot of noise.
So that's why I just mute speaker sir Namit Bajoria because feedback is coming from his end, sir. So actually that's why I mute
okay.
him,
Let me check because.
Is the voice okay now?
Banani, can you speak please?
There is a feedback there.
After muting from our end, again the voice is coming. Can you please speak from another end? Can you please mute all other except Mr. Namit Bajoria and the speaker?
I don't think any noise is coming from our end. We have tried to mute, but still. So just can they check? Maybe you can mute us and just check whether it is coming from our end.
Sir, right, sir. I can check. Please, you can continue. Please, I will check. Yeah.
Okay. So once again, welcome to you, Sri Bagoria ji.
Thank you.
Mr. Bagoria's enterprise and business acumen is matched by his social welfare initiatives and philanthropy, which is carried out through his not-for-profit trust. We are also joined by Honorable Vice Chancellor, Royal Global University, Professor Dr. Sanjay Pratap Singh, a very distinguished name in academia and the administrative circle. We also have the absolute pleasure of having our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. A.K. Pansari, sir, who have also taken out time to join us for this webinar today. The RGU speaker series and the webinars, which have crossed the mark of the event so far, have been organized with the objective of knowledge sharing and reaching out to the student community far and wide, so that students can fruitfully engage their time during this transition period and the lockdown. We endeavor, we strive to see that learning never stops in spite of all odds. RGU has organized webinars on myriad disciplines ranging from international relations, healthcare, astronomy, mental well-being, literature and society, the world economics, world political scenario, and the COVID times, mathematical modeling, the fashion industry, photography, mobile journalism, environmental surveillance, robotics, management, the HR sector, staying fit and positive during the pandemic, and many, many more other topics. And the most recent being on the post-pandemic world, the role and future of the youth with Dr. Robert Askittel, International Chairman for Youth and Students for Peace, and another being Literature, Life and Society with Dr. Tuladhar Hoikia, President of Hyderabad, and Dr. Sulita Mishra, Advisor in PM's Economic Advisory Council, Government of India, poet and author. The speaker series have also seen eminent personalities as João Garrido Salgado, a Chilean-Australian poet, author, translator, and political activist, famous singer Angarang Papan Mohanta with the session on mood, music and mind, Mamang Dai and Tuba Hazarika in the session with the author, ADGP Harmeet Singh and ADGP L.R. Bishnoi on cybersecurity and drug abuse. And also to mention the very informative session with Shri Piyush Goyal, Minister of Railways, Commerce and Industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share here with all that whatever RGU has achieved so far before the COVID situation and currently during the COVID situation would not have been possible without the undeterred leadership of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sanjay Pratap Singh. As part of this larger RGU family, we take immense pride in steering ourselves ahead under the dynamic leadership of Professor Singh. With more than 3 decades of rich experience in teaching, research, academic administration in institutions of repute across the nation, Royal Group has been blessed twice to have the association of Professor Singh in its journey so far. While serving his second tenure as Vice Chancellor of Royal Global University, Professor Singh has completed almost 20 years of headship of well-known academic institutions of the country. Professor Singh has been associated with the Royal Group from its inception in 2009 as the founder director of the institution. He further then moved to Amity Education Group in 2013 and joined as the Senior Vice President Academic of the group and was responsible for the functioning of 6 Amity campuses situated in different parts of the country and abroad. He also served as the founder and chancellor of Amity University, Chhattisgarh for almost 2 years before joining the Assam Royal Global University in November 2006 as the founder vice chancellor. The vision and hard work of Professor Singh, the university has been ranked the #1 private university of Assam by Education World within a span of just 3 years, and it's a commendable achievement on the entirety of RGU. A geologist, MBA, and a law graduate with a PhD in strategic management, Professor Singh is also an ardent baseball player and has been actively involved in various social and cultural activities since his university days. And all members of RGU have witnessed with their own eyes how devotedly Sir was working for the inter-university baseball meet, which was to be organized in the RGU premises, but had to be called off because of the situation the world is reeling in. Sir, with this very brief introduction about your esteemed self, for all our participants who have joined us today from far and near, I request you to share the opening remarks on today's topic.
Thank you so much, Banani. It was more than required introduction of mine. Thank you so much. I think I'm trying my level best to make this university one of the best universities of the country in due course of time with the support of our Honorable Chancellor. So our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. A.K. Pansari sir, Mr. Amit G. Bajoria, who's going to be the speaker for today's webinar. We are very, very delighted today, and good morning to all of you, all faculty members of Royal Global University, all participants. So it's a great, great day for all of us because we are going to hear from somebody who is a first generation entrepreneur who has taken his brand to an extent. I think it is one of the best brand of India as of now, Kuchina. And the way we know, Amit Bajoria Sahab, that we don't know only you as an entrepreneur, but we also know you as a very kind human being, a philanthropist, who is very family man also, is taking his family well, looking after all the requirements of your own family as well as a extended family which is working for your brand Kuchina and all other. You are also been associated for many philanthropic work. So I think you are one of the role model for many young budding entrepreneurs who may think of becoming an entrepreneur, though it is dare to think entrepreneur, but they are ready to become an entrepreneur. That is basically the objective of today's webinar, because the way country is growing, the way we are producing human resource, the way we are flourishing in service sector, the way the vision and mission of our honorable Prime Minister and the country's vision and mission and becoming superpower with respect to GDP and maybe for other sustainable development goals, all together, it is not possible unless and until we have right kind of entrepreneurs. And right kind of entrepreneurs, because it is that they are not job seekers, they are job providers. That is very, very important. If 50% of my students will become entrepreneur in due course of time, I think this place of country, that is Northeast India, as well as the whole country, will flourish faster than what is doing right now. COVID time has given us a lot of idea about thinking what to do, how to go about it, and that's why this topic is very, very relevant. And many students of mine, they are becoming entrepreneur. I know my alumni. But then, end of the day, it is also that how we can motivate further, and what are the challenges that entrepreneurs face. And COVID time, I think I would say a little more about entrepreneurs of the COVID times, because the big entrepreneurs are having a pressure on them to support all their staff members by paying their salary, though there is negligible sales, there's negligible output in the factories, but then they have to manage. So this is another very, very challenging time. At the same time, many people are working for your institute, organization or industry or others, where they are not directly associated with you in terms of payrolls, but they are contractors, they are small people who are supporting, and they are also not having any kind of business as of now. So MSME and the lower level strata, small industry, micro industry, which are supporting bigger industry, everybody is in a definitely bad shape. But however, the good entrepreneurs, whosoever think that it is their extended family, they are managing from wherever they, and once they think it is a family members are also coming together and fighting together to pass this to fight this pandemic. So this is another thing which I'm expecting. One personal example, I will say that it is not always money which motivates entrepreneurs. I mean, it has been said by Joseph Alois in 1883 to 1953. He was like a very good management thinker. He said not only advantages of profit or money motivates entrepreneur. There are many other reasons to become an entrepreneur. That may be for your passion, that may be to serve the nation, that may be to serve the society by and large, that may be serving those people working with you, serving so that their family, their growth can happen. And I remember many times when any entrepreneur found that their CEO's son or their worker's son has been selected to one of the best institutions in the country and the world, I think the promoter himself thinks that it is his achievement, because he in a way is giving support to those families which are doing well, not your own family, Bajoria Sahab, but other families too. And this is something very important, everybody. One more important thing for many of the new budding entrepreneurs, many times they are second generation entrepreneurs or third generation entrepreneurs. Many times they think that this entrepreneurship has come to them as a legacy, and they are not very comfortable with that kind of entrepreneurship. But I would say that I myself have become entrepreneur once upon a time. When there was a problem in my family in 1988, I belong to a family which is having a small business. So I had to shift to business, leaving aside my education. Just after completing my post-graduation in 1988, for 1.5 years, I supported my father in the family business, and I was earning a huge amount of money. I mean, at that point of time, around 35,000-40,000 of rupees per month. But I decided to become a JRF with 1,800 rupees in 1990 because my heart was lying for education. I requested my father that I want to switch over to, so wherever your heart lies. But at the same time, I have seen my younger brother, I'm just sharing with you, he was not very keen to do family business. Initially, he was struggling to, adapt to, that entrepreneurship. But then after a few years, he started enjoying it and he's doing very well. So at times what happens, I'm just sharing my experience, that even if this is not your cup of tea, because many entrepreneurs I know, they are very good writers. They are very good singers. They are very good consultants. They are very good social entrepreneurs. They are very good motivators. So along with their entrepreneurship, they use their heart and brain to do all other things which can bring in Money is very important motivator. Money is very important to earn. But more than that, if you earn something else from other sources and make yourself comfortable, once you are second generation or third generation entrepreneur, I think that is also very important, because if second generation, third generation will not follow what their grandparents and parents have done, where the business will go, because business is not for one generation, it is generation to generation if you do that. So this is my little bit thing, because I am sitting here because of my entrepreneurship of my grandfather. My grandfather left his village at the age of 42, and therefore my father has become an entrepreneur, and we got right kind of education, and I am the byproduct of entrepreneurship of my grandfather. So that is the way we should think entrepreneurship in a bigger umbrella. So I will not speak. I mean, I've given you food for thought to speak, and I'm very eager to hear from you. My best wishes to you and to all the participants. I shared some of the personal experiences because I really am from an entrepreneurship background, but I'm still an entrepreneur because of all risk takers, all those people who are visionary, all those people who can organize and innovate. In my opinion, they are entrepreneurs. Whatever profession they are doing, if they are working hand in hand with the promoters and trying to develop the enterprise created by the promoters, I think they are also entrepreneurs. We have to identify the right kind of professionals working with you which are having entrepreneurial skills. My teachers, especially to you, unless and until you are going to become an entrepreneur and you are going to have entrepreneurial skills, the institutions and the university will not grow manyfold. Unless and until you have some kind of entrepreneurship, that you start consultancy, you bring in that consultancy to the university, and with that consultancy you grow the way IIMs are growing and we grow. That is the growth model which is required for all enterprise, in my opinion. Whatever I thought in the morning hours, I'm just sharing with you all. Thank you so much, and over to you, Banani, and best wishes to all of you.
Thank you, sir, for bringing in the positive note towards this quotation, or the quote unquote phrase, dare to dream. Yes, something which will not be daring and a gut feeling to many. But also thank you, sir, for bringing in the other perspectives to this concept of entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, for today's webinar on entrepreneurship, dare to dream, we have a very decorated personality, an eminent name in the world of entrepreneurship. He is not only a business professional, but also a devoted academician. Sri Bajoria is an alumni of prestigious St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, and armed with 3 postgraduate diplomas in business communication and global marketing, business finance, and export management. Mr. Bajoria also pursued Owner President Management Education Program from Harvard Business School to hone up his skills as an entrepreneur. He is a member of the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, and the advisor board member for Newton School, Kolkata. Mr. Bajoria became the recipient of the Emerging Leader Award from CMA Kolkata, and Brand Cucina featured as one of the leading brand in the kitchen industry, making mark nationally. Sir, this webinar has been joined by a lot of students from the MBA and commerce background. And amongst them, there are many who are also aspiring entrepreneurs. Before we move ahead to your deliberation, I would like to know your opinion, sir, for the benefit of all the larger students and the larger audience who have joined us today. Do you think academics and business management skills should go hand in hand, or do they just run parallelly? So what is your take on this, so that we can get started with the discussion and your deliberation?
Thank you, Banani, and special thanks to Professor Singh for such kind words. Let me first put across to all the participants that today when I speak, it will be more on the practicality, because I know you have, as a student, a lot of things have been forced upon you in terms of study and other things, which are of course very necessary. But on the other hand, sometimes practical becomes more important. To answer your question, yes, when I was a student, and to be very honest, I used to think, how do I get over with these exams and start something of my own? Because I used to think that business is much easier than giving exams. That was my thought earlier days when I was a student. But now when I look at the hindsight, then I can say both the things are necessary. And if if anybody has an opportunity to carry both the things parallelly, there is nothing like it. Generally we are coming from Marwadi community, and our fathers generally force us that once we complete class 10, we are supposed to do some sort of work as an experience along with the studies. So that has been a very big boon for us. Nowadays, of course, students go for higher studies, complete everything, then they think of either joining the business or maybe doing some service. So, of course, parallel is the best thing because you get to know the best of both the things and the weakness of both the things. But given any opportunity, of course, both have their own importance individually. I now prefer that, of course, when you are having a time to study, and really when you can study makes you think in a structured manner. That is the only beauty of study. The moment you are into business, you start taking decisions based on a lot of pressures, a lot of things which are day to day important. So that might not make you very structured. So once you are into a study mode, it gives you a structured thinking. The moment you are into business mode, basically you are driven by a lot of other things which might not be in your hand. So I think both have their own importance. Given a situation of parallel is the best thing. Otherwise, when you are studying, please focus on study. The moment you get out of the study, use all the studies that you have learned, all the experience to make it as far as possible useful and practical in the business scenario.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the ideas so beautifully. Shri Namit Bagoria had begun his entrepreneurial journey when he formed the Bajoria Appliances Private Limited, the parent company of the flagship brand Cucina, which was launched a year later. And currently, sir, you are also chairing as the managing director of this company. So combining innovation, style, and ergonomics, Shri Bajoria was the first to introduce auto-clean technology chimneys in India. In 2008, he also formed a new group company by the name Bajoria Appliances Homemakers Private Limited and started manufacturing modular kitchens locally in India. Currently, the Bajoria group of companies has 25 branches, 130 distributors, and over 300 dealers across India, with 100+ crore turnover, with a rapidly expanding products and services portfolio providing employment to over 1,500 people. So this journey that you have undertaken in establishing your brand must not have been an easy one or a bed of roses. So our participants will be enlightened if to hear directly from you. Did you also have to face roadblocks, the deadlines, the setbacks, the challenges, the risks that and the other struggles that you might have to face and overcome, and you had also overcome them during the establishment phase of your company? So, sir, it will be great if you can hear it directly from you, your story, as how you went ahead with your journey of with your entrepreneurial journey and towards the establishment of your brand and making it a renowned and nationally and internationally and globally, like making it a mark in the global market as well.
So thank you, Banani. So I'll start my deliberation now. And just to little bit correct, I think the figures were maybe a little outdated. Currently, we are more than 250 crore turnover and with lot number of distributors and dealers, but that has nothing to do with this presentation. I think the experience of business is more important to share. So I think I can start now. Banani, can I start now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So good morning once again to all the participants. I know you are eager to hear about entrepreneurship, but before I start entrepreneurship, because that is something very exciting word I know, but before that, let us take a step backward. As a human being, we all have one thing in common, and it doesn't matter whether we are coming from which country, what caste, what creed, what economic background. Basically, the base of every human being is dreams. And I think we dream from our childhood till I think we die. We all have a dream, and we live with that dream. And that is one thing which differentiates us from different creatures of the world. I think human beings are the only creature who can dream. I've never heard of, I can't imagine a horse dreaming that his or her child will become a good racer someday. But as a human being, we do. So the biggest thing is dream. And I have a very, one of the quote is very favorite, which I'd like to share with you, that don't be led by your problems. Don't be pushed by your problems, but led by your dreams. That is one of the most important thing in life. What happens? We start dreaming. We want to become this, we want to become that, we want to achieve this, we want to achieve that. But eventually, somewhere we get lost. And then we compromise our dream, and then we say the situation has forced us to do this. But this is not correct. As an individual person, we should understand the dream is what keeps us growing. That is what keeps us alive. That is the only thing that keeps us alive. When you start dreaming, then only you start thinking. The moment you start thinking, you start putting things into action. And the moment you start putting things into action, whatever you have aspired starts becoming true. But we should not lose any hope if certain things doesn't happen in the way we have dreamt, because that will always happen. Some things will come, some things will go. But dream is something we have to have a very good hold on. We should keep our dream, no matter whether we are able to achieve certain things or not, but never get lose or never get lost of any dreams. So I'll just start with a small slide. Just a minute. So this is my favorite. I was talking about, don't be pushed by your problems, be led by your dreams. So never lose up any dreams, stuck to what it is. Now, talking about entrepreneurship, the first thing that describes an entrepreneur is uncertainty, according to me. Because when we talk about entrepreneurship, it is uncertainty. Uncertainty is something which we live with the current, with the past, and with the future. We always have uncertainty in our mind. What will happen? What will be our course of actions? Whatever we are planning, whether it will happen or not. So these things continue in the mind of every individual, whether it is an entrepreneur, whether it is a person who is doing service or into any profession. But the biggest thing of an entrepreneur is that uncertainty is not limited to himself or to his family. The uncertainty, as Professor Singh was saying, is also towards a duty towards his employees who are dependent on him. So uncertainty is something which we have to live on. But the best part of entrepreneurship is that uncertainty makes it very exciting. It is not boring. It is exciting. You don't know what is there in store for you in the future. It might be good, it might be bad, but definitely if you are working towards it, you will definitely achieve things much more than what a normal person have dared. That's why today we have kept this title as Dare to Dream, because we all dream, but we don't dare to dream. It is just that we dream, and it is said that there is no point in dreaming with your closed eyes. It is important that you dream with your open eyes. Talking about entrepreneurship once again, see, in fact, the Prime Minister of a country also has a dream that we should be a 5 trillion economy one day, maybe in 3 years, 5 years time. I am not very clear whether we will be able to achieve from 2.7 to 5 trillion, whether in 3 years or 5 years. It might take more years. That doesn't matter. But what is most important, and which the government is also driving, is that we should have more entrepreneurs. The entrepreneur has to be more and more in numbers. Then only the economy can be driven. Without entrepreneurs, economy cannot be driven. When we talk about US is a country which is full of entrepreneurs. The government allows them to fail any number of times, but ultimately that is where we get the best of marketing. If you look at US, we get the best of marketing. When you look at China, we get best of manufacturing. India is somewhere in between, according to me. But we have to be one thing sure, whether you are into manufacturing, whether you are into marketing, whether you are into servicing. First thing that is important is that the mindset has to be entrepreneurial. as Professor Singh was also mentioning the same thing, that whether you are a teacher, whether you are into anything, think what value addition can you bring to the work, to the job that you are doing. So let us not keep this entrepreneur in a boundary of only business. And talking about first generation, second generation, third generation entrepreneur, I don't think it matters. I might be a first generation entrepreneur. I had to go through a lot of problems. As Banani was asking, whether have I gone through failures, have I gone through tough times? The only answer that comes to my mind is, I have seen more failures than success. I have seen more struggle than my peaceful times. But yes, after 10 failures, that one success had made me whatever I am today. So the energy that was there, I didn't let it go in the failures. I kept it so that I continue catching on with the opportunity and immediately get the benefit once success comes to us. So don't bother about failures and success. That is something which will come in due course of time. Struggles are there with everybody, in every class of people, in every profession. Struggle will be there. Nobody can predict you that there will be a time that after this you don't have a struggle. So struggle is something which will make you always on the toes. It will give you a lot of experience to move on. But entrepreneurship is something which is very important in terms of today's environment, especially now when COVID is happening. You have seen a lot of people might think that job was earlier to COVID. People used to think job was very safe. Government employees used to think their job was very safe. The businessmen used to think that, okay, business is safe. But this COVID has proved everybody wrong. Nothing is safe. Nothing is certain. The only certain thing is your effort towards what you want to achieve. After COVID, you will see a lot of business getting failed, a lot of people getting jobless. But at the same time, you will also see a lot of people actually growing to the extent they have never thought of. Because instead of thinking negative, people have started thinking positive, that how to make the best use of this COVID period. Because in every bad situation, something good is also there. It is, as an entrepreneur mind, as an innovative mind, it is important how you are thinking, what you are doing in this situation. Certain circumstances are not in your hand, but to groom yourself, to uplift yourself, to keep your spirit continuously at the same level is in your hand. So I think that is very important. And I just prepared this slide for you, that what makes you an entrepreneur. In the bookish language, there will be lot of answers to it. There will be a lot of things, but this is what I can only bring through my practical experience of as a person, which I've done. First thing is uniqueness of thought process. See, anybody can be an entrepreneur. If you start a business is a very vague term, according to me. You trade money, you sell something, you earn something. You are talking about business. There are a lot of traders in this society, but I don't actually think them as a very innovative entrepreneur. They are a business people. They are a traders. Now, when we are talking about entrepreneur, to me, entrepreneurs should have a uniqueness of thought process. What business you want to start, what service you want to start, should have something different. Some uniqueness has to be there. Today, there is a very favorite word from last few years, startups. When you talk about startups, immediately comes to your mind is USP, that what's something new you are going to create. And that has led us to a very, very different level altogether. A lot of people are trying. It is good that at least you have started thinking. It is good that young people like you don't want to join your father's traditional business. I have seen two things happening in today's environment, or rather three things. Either coming from a business family, students are studying and maybe joining services, a good service, or they are joining the father's business if there is a compulsion, but then bringing some changes into the business to make it more vibrant. If it was a traditional business, you as a student, you as a young buddy, you can come in, join, and change the thing as per the current environment. Or thirdly, you start up something of your own. So whatever you do, whether you are first generation entrepreneur, whether you are second generation, the only difference between first and second is The first generation has everything new. He can do anything. He can fail anytime because nobody is there to keep an expectation. But as a second generation, you are measured. You are measured by your forefathers, by your fathers, your grandfathers, that they have done this, so you have to do at least this. But to them, I'll say, it doesn't matter whether you are second or third. It is important, being a second generation or a third generation, what unique thought process you are bringing into the business and growing from where they have left. That is more important. So first generation, second generation, nothing changes in terms of delivery. Only in first generation there is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of struggle in terms of newness. In second generation, you have to struggle with the old thing and make into a new thing. But whatever remains, one fact remains the same, that is uniqueness of thought. So if you want to do any business or any business related to any service or product, the first thing is you should think, what is the uniqueness? What is different that I'm bringing into the business? That will define you as an entrepreneur. Second, the most important is value addition. When we talk about an entrepreneur, actually we are talking about value addition. Value addition by simple language means, suppose if you are selling a vegetable, you can sell it at a price as it is. But if you are selling a dish, a vegetable dish, a lot of value addition has been done on it. We always talk, as a person, we always talk in a very loose language. Oh, see Coca-Cola, oh, see Pepsi. The price is, I think, not be more than 1 rupee. See, they are selling at 10 rupees. But we don't understand that what value addition they are doing it. That is what they are capable of. We are buying iPhones today at such a huge price. Almost similar things we are getting at a lower price in other brands. But why we are paying for iPhone? They've created a value addition in our mind that we are ready to pay the price. Value addition only means whatever you are selling, people should find the price that you are taking is lesser than what you are selling for. The product that you are delivering should be more than what the price you are asking for. So without value addition, an entrepreneur has no meaning. You are not a simple person that you will just sell as it is. And value addition can come from any aspect. It can come from product, it can come from marketing, it can come from servicing, anything it comes. But eventually when it reaches the customer, it has to have a value addition. That is the reason I think why we have stopped going to cinema halls of single screen, and suddenly in India, multiplexes have become so common. We are seeing the same movie. We are having the same expression. The thought process while watching a movie is the same. But still we are ready to pay more ticket prices because they've added value. The seats are comfortable, the bathrooms are clean. See, bathroom is such a small thing, but you have noticed, maybe you should ask your father or your senior people in your home. The single screen, the biggest problem was the seat and the toilet. Though it was such a small thing, AC was working, but these two were the biggest problem. Somebody came with a thought of multiplex. Somebody came with a thought that no, there will not be a traditional 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 9 to 12, and only 4 shows. That too, 9 to 12 will always be very difficult because a lot of people can't go at that time and watch. Somebody must have come with this idea, with this multiplexes, the shows are plenty. In single place, you have got 4, 5, 10 screens. In one screen, you can show 5 to 7 times the show. They've taken care of the bathroom. They've taken care of the seats, the air conditioning, the music system, the sound system. And that is what they're asking the price for. And you are happily paying it. The moment you are going to snacks counter, you are paying so much for the popcorn. And I don't think anybody mind. People are paying. And the study shows in a multiplex, 40% of the income is from popcorn. So just a value addition. So all I want to say is, in any business that you have in mind or whatever you do in future, value addition is the most important thing. If you cannot bring value addition to your business, it is a simple trading business, nothing else. Thirdly, leadership based on coaching. Why coaching? We all talk about leaders, but to me, there's a difference between a boss and a leader, a senior and a leader. When you talk about a boss, in the organization in a very normal language. Boss is something who knows to dictate and get the work done. That okay, this work has to be done given this period of time and this plan of action, and this is the result that I'm anticipating. But there is a difference. Leader has to be thought like a coach. Coach will coach you, will tell your team how to work, what to do, how to improve. They will train you. They will take the best out of you. They will show you your best things. They will leave your weakness. They will train you, because training is a process which any human individual needs continuously to grow further and further. There cannot be a time we can come out of the study after certain years, but still we need training. I'll just give you a simple example of mine. As Banani was mentioning, a time came around 2011-12 that my turnover came around 100 plus, but it was not growing further. For 2 years, from 2011 and 12, 2 years I was continuously trying to grow, because from 2003 to 2012, I started from 1 crore and reached 100 crores in 7 to 10 years. But after that, in another year, I was not able to grow anything. 2 years I tried everything in my mind. Then I realized I have exhausted all my ideas, all my new things, everything. I have nothing more to give to my team to grow the business. That is where I decided that I have to go somewhere, learn something new, understand what is happening in the current scenario, why I am not able to come out with new ideas, why I am not able to grow. And that is how I joined Harvard. That was an executive course for 3 years, but for a month each in each year. So I left everything behind. I left my business, my family, everything behind. And I went there for a month, living it, because you are not allowed to get in touch with your business, because you hardly get any time. From morning till night, you don't get any time. And because of the time difference, it becomes even harder for us to get in touch with Indian counterpart, except Sunday. But it was necessary. I had to learn, I had to grow. So after going there and after coming back, every year when I used to come back, I was full of energy, full of new ideas. So leadership is all about growing yourself, because if I don't learn myself, if I don't get myself educated, it is not possible for me to direct my team to do the same thing. So I went there, I learned, I took the pain, because at this age, if you have to stay like a student again, it becomes a little difficult. And leaving your family behind, friends behind, and other things, and having a little tension in mind what the business is going through, who will sign your checks, what will happen. So there are 100 things, but that was necessary. It is called sharpening your axe. A woodcutter, when he cuts a tree, he has got two choices. Either he can continuously cut a tree, it will take a long time, or he can take a break in between, sharpen the axe, again start cutting. Actually, it will take a lesser time. So that is what I did it. So that is what I mean to say, that we have to be continuously upgraded in terms of learning, in terms of experience, and same thing we have to give to our team. That will make you a different entrepreneur. You just can't rely on your team people just to deliver the same thing again and again, and so they will deliver the same thing again and again because they have the same knowledge again and again. But if you really want to deliver them to have a certain growth, then you have to again give them a lot of knowledge and value. So these three things are most important to make you an entrepreneur. Now coming of a successful entrepreneur. What makes you a successful entrepreneur? So since I belong to a kitchen industry, so I have just put it as ingredient, because kitchen is something which I have loved and I've liked it. And after a while, after this slide, I'll share with you in a brief, I'll share with my journey. So all these things that you are seeing right here, you'll come to understand that everything has come into my life and I've passed through everything. The first thing is, as I said, and I continuously say again and again, believe in your dreams. There will be time from family, from peer pressure, that they will tell you, oh, everybody dreams, nobody becomes that way. But that doesn't mean that you have to leave dream for them. It is your individual passion which has to grow. You have to believe yourself that whatever you are thinking, the only difference is, as a child, as a student, you might be thinking 10 things. 10 things won't come alive. But out of those 10 things, one or two things will definitely come into force. So believe in the thing which you have really from the passion, not something other people have said. It is common in India because of our education system, because of our family system. Most of the time, our parents decide what we should do. They tell us whether we should go into this stream or that stream or whatever it is. But I completely will say, if you are very confident, if you are convinced from inside that no, this is what your call is, then it is better that you convince your parents, your family, your peer, and anybody who comes in your way to live with that. Because if you are if you are following your call from within, there are certain chances that you will get success. But you cannot get success on other people's dream. I might dream that my daughter will become something else. The way I am. Might not be. She might not be a good businessman in future. I don't know. She has something else. I have something else. But whatever it is, everybody has to believe in dreams. And one thing very important, you can be failures in 10 things in life. Just one thing is important. At least one thing you should be proud of, that this is something which I know. This is my subject. I have the authority. This is what I'm known for. It can be sports. It can be anything. Not necessarily business, not necessarily education, not necessarily any particular thing. But one thing in your life you should be proud of. That you should cultivate and create from the beginning. That one thing nobody can challenge you. Today, if somebody asks me about chimney, I can say anything to them. I can challenge that I know better than anything else. When you talk about kitchens, I know better than anybody else. So one thing should be there with you. Secondly, already I said overcoming failures. 90% of the people, when I was mentioning about the dream, that everybody dreams, everybody has a good dream, that everybody wants to become this. But 90%, if you see in the population, gets adjusted. They forget their dreams because of the failure. And successful entrepreneur has to overcome failure. As I said earlier, when I started my business, for at least 7 to 8 years, I was a failure. In fact, a time came when I thought I really have to, in fact, my father said that why don't you join service? Because enough of business you have done, every project that you do becomes a failure. So it is better that you join service and live peacefully and get married. So, but good thing that I didn't listen to him. So I continued with my own dream and passion. That is what I'm saying. Failure is nothing but teaches you. There is a saying now that if you don't drink water, how will you swim? If you have to be a swimmer, you'll have to drink water. So if you have to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be a failure. You have to see a lot of failures. Failure doesn't mean that is the end. It just means that you have done something wrong, maybe something mistake that you have done which needs to be corrected and come back again. I always say bouncing back is one of the biggest asset of an entrepreneur. You have to continuously bounce back against your failure. The moment you start bouncing back against your failure, you will realize that a day will come when you will start getting success and failure will be the past thing. So just keep in mind, bouncing back. This is only one word if you from today's entire session. If one take that you have to take is one word, bounce back. Every people have their own setbacks. Every people, irrespective whether what background they are coming from. Only thing that makes them success is bouncing back. So just don't worry about failures. You know what is the meaning of no? When we hear no, we become sad and we give up. To me, no is next opportunity. Maybe today this person has said no. That doesn't mean it is a permanent no. It is just a next opportunity. I have to present in a much better way, taking care of the mistakes that I've done, and again start working. So just overcome failures. Just don't worry about failure. Will be a part of your journey. Keep it in mind. Failures will be a part of the journey. I don't have any example in my mind of a successful business person who has never failed. Everybody has failed. But only successful people are those entrepreneurs who have overcome them. Then the third is coming out of the comfort zone. That is something, as a human nature, it is said, you have also realized that as a human being, we get very easily into the comfort zone, both physically and mentally. During the COVID period, when there was a complete lockdown, we were just sitting idle, doing nothing. And we were wondering that once it opens up, how we will work, because we have got habituated of not doing anything. But see, we have got, it is a body which adjusts to everything. But here when I'm talking about is what is mental comfort zone. People across will try to get you into the comfort zone. Oh, why are you doing this? क्या जरूरत है? सब तो ठीक है. Your father has got so much money. Why you not need to do this? You have got this. Why you need to do this? People will try to bog in with lot of comfort factors. But as an entrepreneur, if you want to be really successful, you will have to come out of that comfort zone. Every time you will get into it. Every time it is a human tendency. The moment you see a failure, you immediately get into the comfort zone and then blame it on the situation. So these three things are very common. First, you are experiencing failure, a short-term failure. Immediately, you are getting into the zone of comfort. And thirdly, to back it up, to give it a convincing thing, you are blaming on the circumstances or other people. And that's the end of the story. That is what you have to watch, continuously checking. Because the moment you are out of comfort zone, you will continuously think and do something new. You will think of the problem and do. One take that I've taken from Harvard. You believe me, from 2 years before going to Harvard, I was just trying what to do. I tried different things, I failed. After coming from Harvard, one confidence that I got that there is a solution to every problem. You have to just look into it. Maybe in different ways. You are not getting today, you'll get tomorrow. Not this way, maybe that way. But you will get. So one thing that is very important is to come out of comfort zone, look for solutions. Continuously push yourself harder and harder. That is the only way to remain successful. And in today's competitive environment, you have seen, whether it comes to studies, whether it comes to business, whether it comes to even doing job, competition is everywhere. Everybody is behind you, just an inch. So you have no choice of comfort. It is always that you have to continuously innovate yourself and work towards bringing something different, working something different. That is the way you can remain ahead. So these are the three things which I feel are ingredients of a successful entrepreneur. Now I'll just, for a brief, I'll come towards my journey, how I did it. Practically as a first generation entrepreneur, whatever I've done today, whatever I did it, I'll just share you my journey. With this journey, you will eventually, whatever I've told you in the early slides, you will see everything coming and matching. So I started my business after passing college. In fact, only at the time I was there in a college, I already started my business. So I started a business in a very normal way. Like I was just a trader. I took agencies for few things, few electronic things, few appliances, and I started working for somebody else. In the sense that I was a distributor in Calcutta. Worked for 5 years. I had my time of failure, struggle, success as a distributor, not as a brand owner. One day, it happened that after 5-6 years, I realized that I want to do a lot of different things. I want to bring a lot of value addition into the business. I started telling to my principal companies. Principal companies means who gives us the distributorship. So I started in the meeting, I used to give them a lot of ideas. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? This will bring us a different business opportunity. This will give us a good sales. So one day when we were discussing in a team, all India distributors were sitting. We top 10 distributors were there in a meeting. And I was, as usual, like very excited. And I started saying, this will not work. Why don't you enter into this field? Why don't you do that? Suddenly the owner of that company, he stood up and said, Namit, I think you are giving too many ideas. It is very easy to give ideas, very difficult to implement. It is very easy to give suggestions, very difficult to do when it comes to your own thing. So better don't give ideas. Let us do what we are doing. If you have the guts, do something of your own and then show us whether you can do it or not. He said it sarcastically, but somehow I felt very bad that day. And that was the last day when I worked with them. I came back to Calcutta. Then slowly I told them that I will not be working as a distributor with you all. Took a year or 2 year gap. I had a very tough time. started thinking what to do, because I had a very clear thought in my mind that yes, I want to have my own brand now, because that is the only way I can put my thoughts, my ideas into it. So it took 2-3 years. I went to different places. There was a lot of family pressure, you can understand. I was already married, and my father used to say, why you have left something and without starting anything, you have left something. It is not easy to establish a brand, because once you have your own brand, you have to spend a lot of money on advertisement. So I said, I don't know how to do it, but of course, one thing is very clear: if others can do, I can also do it. That was my only passion that time. So anyway, I then went, and then I identified a product which was a very good USP. I'm talking about 2001 and 2. That time, kitchen chimneys were coming up very slow, but they were coming up. 2-3 multinational companies were there in India who were selling it, but the volume was very less. I thought people are already spending money on furnitures, they are spending money on bathroom fittings. So maybe in future, definitely kitchen will also have its own place. So that was the reason I entered into it. I came with a product USP. That time, all the company in India who were selling kitchen chimneys, they were selling from Europe. So basically, the kitchen as a function was very different. In India, we cook too much. In Europe, they cook hardly 6 hours a week. So the functionality was different. Biggest problem is, in India, I've seen my mother cooking, and I saw that when the chimney is there, just to have a little knowledge about chimney, after 10-15 days, it requires a lot of cleaning, because the oil and the fume, everything goes and it gets clogged. The net gets clogged. So I thought, why to give a customer so much of a trouble that every 15 days, if he has to clean the chimney and it takes 2-3 hours, it is not a good thing. That is where I thought, if I have to bring a product, I have to bring a product which is convenience to the customer, number one. Number two, it has to be different. Otherwise, I don't have money to spend on advertisement. Why will a customer buy from me if I don't have anything unique? So that is how I identified a product and brought in India. I put in all my money in one container in the single product, because that was the only option. When I started marketing it, yes, I realized I did a mistake. I didn't have money to advertise, and there were no customers coming to buy it up. Because retailing, if you have to do retailing, ultimately you have to have a pull marketing where the customer comes and buy your product. But I didn't have money, so eventually then I changed my course. I started into direct marketing, recruiting few teams, doing exhibitions, explaining the customer myself what is the advantage of chimney. So it took 2-3 years. But what happened in the course of time? People started liking the product. A time was there. The first exhibition that I took, 5 days there was an exhibition. I was standing in the counter. Other chimneys were getting booked from other competitors. Mine, nobody come. People are coming. They are saying, we have never seen this technology. I don't know whether to rely or not. And secondly, we have never heard of your brand name. So why should buy from you? Whether we'll get a service or not, we don't know. So after the last day of the exhibition, we were with 0 sales. So last day, I told customers that, okay, there is a deal. You take this chimney free of cost. We'll get it installed in your kitchen. After 15 days, if you're not satisfied, we'll return it back. In case if you're satisfied, then please give money and as well as reference from other customers also. And somehow it got clicked. Few customers took it. Then that is how we started expanding. Then started, of course, then is the rest of the story that we started building up. And then we started adding a lot of products and all. And today, as you see, we are into complete kitchen appliances. So the whole idea is to sense opportunity. I could have entered into any other field, but I thought, since furniture, people have already started building their interiors and everything, but kitchen is the most neglected part of the house. If you remember 10-15 years ago, there used to be an exhaust fan, and if a guest comes to your house, nobody is proud of taking them around the kitchen. People used to take them to the drawing room to show how good bathroom they have created, what fittings they have done, but nobody used to take them to the kitchen. That is where I thought that a woman of the house, who is the center of the house and food is the basic thing of a family, why not kitchen be a place where women loves to work? When we talk about a mother or a wife, they spend 4-5 hours in the kitchen. At least earlier they used to spend 4-5 hours in the kitchen. Why not give them a place where it makes them a good experience? So you have to sense opportunity. Opportunities are everywhere, but you have to sense it. And once the opportunity is right, success is on your way. Secondly, as I said, product USP for customer convenience. As I said, I could have brought the same chimney like other competitors. And to your knowledge, from I launched this AutoClean technology chimney in 2003. I was the first in India to use this technology. People used to laugh at me. The competitors used to laugh at me that this is an outdated technology we have never heard of. And to your knowledge, now when we are sitting today, from last 3 to 4 years, all the big MNCs, if you check, everybody has AutoClean technology in their portfolio because now the customers all over India are demanding that we want an AutoClean technology. So just a single thought of a product USP has changed so much that a, a, a simple business person like me, a simple entrepreneur like me, has forced all the multinational companies to change their product portfolio, and I am proud to say that they are me too. They are following me because whatever we are creating, they are copying it. I being a simple entrepreneur from Calcutta, from India, they have got such a big R&D team from all over the places of the world. Still, in today, whatever we are creating in Chimney, whatever new technology we are bringing, we are the first to bring, and they are just following it up. So if your product is USP, customer will come today or tomorrow. People will appreciate and they will buy for it. So when I talk about product, it is not only product. It can be service. It can be any USP in your business. It can be marketing. But basically, there has to be a USP that I told earlier also. Thirdly, creating a customer-centric organization. As I told, that when I heard from the customer the first day that we don't really understand whether we'll give service or not, after sales service, whether we'll get because it's such a small organization. That was the day I thought that my organization, I should create a customer centric organization where I am not important, my employees are not important. The biggest important person is customer. Biggest problem in India is we talk about customers. There is a very simple and very outdated line uh, that customer is God. But how many of us actually believe it? Do we believe it when it comes to finances? People move back. Then customer is not there. If I have to change something which is faulty, if the customer doesn't pay, then customer is not God. So saying something and believing something and living through your DNA in the organization is something else. In our organization, as we know that every product in India that is sold or maybe abroad has a warranty. Warranty means you can rectify a product, you don't need to replace it. Because earlier there used to be a term called guarantee. Guarantee means you have to replace the product. So maybe 15, 20 years the word has changed to warranty. So customer cannot challenge you. But from day one, I have kept very clear, if a customer is insisting and we are not able to rectify in 1 or 2 chance, we will replace it free of cost. Because the most important thing is when we say customer is God, either we should not say, or once if we are saying it, then we have to live with it. And believe me, today the customers are much smarter. Customers are completely aware of everything. They can see everything. So if whatever we are doing, they can understand. And today and tomorrow, if your organization is customer centric, they will believe it and they will come to you. And your organization, your brand will automatically be successful. A lot of people I've seen in the hierarchy chart, they put MD, then CEO, then maybe the HODs, then comes different things. In our organization, I have kept customers above and then I've kept everybody down. Because only because of the customers, we all are there. If today I'm speaking to you, if today I'm sitting in my office, today I'm enjoying my brand, it is all because of customers. We say it, we think it, but we don't follow it, we don't execute it. So always think about customer satisfaction first. Create an organization which is a customer-centric organization. If customer is there, we all are there. Team building. Similarly, you cannot do it alone until you are a professional. If you are a doctor, it's a different thing. If you are a lawyer, it's a different thing. Though there also you need a team if you want to grow. But in a business, as an entrepreneur, you need a team. And when we talk about team, it is not just team. There has to be a bonding. Professor Singh was mentioning that I have extended family. Yes, a lot of people, when you attend a lot of speakers session, I don't think they introduce everybody like the same way they have introduced me. Everybody's introduction is unique in their own way, but they've introduced saying that I take care of my team as an extended family. Yes, I do take care. I enjoy with my team. I enjoy with my business people. I enjoy with my distributors. I enjoy with my team. So I always say that I've got three customers. One is the end consumers who are buying my product. Second is the agents, the distributors, the dealers who are selling the product. They are also my customer, and my team who are actually helping the product to be sold are also my customers. So team building is a must. Any organization in the world cannot survive without a good team building. And when we talk about good team building, it has to be a team which is well trained, well delegated, and they should be involved. Each member of your team, at least a senior member of your team, should be entrepreneurial in mindset. They should think that it is their business. Because if each individual thinks it is their business, that is the only way a business can become big. Because I alone can just put in ideas, but I cannot execute everything. So there are differences. There are teams who can do work as you have told. There are people who will work beyond what you have told. That is where a successful entrepreneur can create a proper team, a successful team. And that actually makes, if any one thing that makes a difference, you can have the best of the product, you can have best of the services, you can have best of finances, best of marketing. But if your team is not good, it will not take you anywhere in the long run. In the short run, of course, these things will help. But in the long run, they cannot take you anywhere. Team is the only thing. That is why we say that artificial intelligence, computers, machines, everything is very good. But end of the day, all these things are there so that human being can evolve and become more stronger. Because end of the day, human being is one who controls everything. We have created artificial intelligence. So team building, I think, is one of the most important. And as I already mentioned, expansion through delegation. Alone, you cannot do anything. When we talk about delegation, a lot of people have delegated. Few days ago, I'm not criticizing any business, but it is just my viewpoint. Few days ago, I was reading about Biani, now they're in a big trouble. Like a lot of other business people, they are in big trouble. I knew that Mr. Kishore Biani is a fantastic modern retail. We call him a guru of modern retail. He came with superb idea. But what is happening today? He is under one of the biggest debt. And the reason of the debt, because now if Reliance doesn't take it, they're into a big mess. So he created such a big thing. He created so many stores. I came to know that he had got around 50 to 60 CEOs. For every business, he has created a CEO. For every business. Like he was the first thing that he was into retailing, into modern retailing. But as he grew, he started venturing into a lot of other businesses. And to all other businesses, he delegated to CEO. So he had got, suppose, 50 line of business, there were 50 CEOs. If CEO were delegated rightly, then this should not have happened. But definitely the delegation was not right. And this happens with all other business. You can delegate. You can think you have delegated, you have got the best person, the business will run through. No. Delegation has to be right. There has to be a successful delegation. Ultimately, it's your business. You have to be there every time. You cannot, it is a very good saying that you can play golf while others are working. No, it is a myth. You have to have the right reporting system. You have to have the right MI systems. You have to have a good team bonding. You have to take reports. You have to have a good team of people. Then only you can delegate. Otherwise, if you delegate it artificially, nothing will work. Just see the case of so many big businesses in India are failing. Take example of Cafe Coffee Day. We have seen so much stores, we can't believe that this can happen, that can be in such a big debt. But this is happening. It is all, I believe, is because of wrong delegation. And secondly, focus is the most important thing. When I started my business, every time, every 2 years, 3 years, a lot of people come through. Oh, you have got money. Let us do this business also. Let us get into real estate also. Let us get into that business also. But I always kept my focus through. The only reason was this is what I know my best. If I start getting into the other business, eventually what will happen? There also there is a huge competition. There are sharks in that business. They will not let me easily come through. By that mean I will even lose that. So until unless you are very strong, we are not talking about Birlas, we are not talking about Tatas, we are not talking about Ambanis. They have got generations of success and hard work. That is today why they are able to run few business which are profitable. Still there are a lot of business which are not profitable. So focus is the key thing. Remaining to the core, what you know, expanding into a bigger way is the core thing. There are hundreds of examples out of India which are successful just because they have been focusing only on the same thing. They've never ventured outside. They've got a lot of money. iPhone, in fact, Apple today is one of the most cash-rich company in the world, but they don't venture into any other thing. They know what they know. They are continuously into the vertical and horizontal expansion, but not into something which is completely different. So this is very important. So this is basically my journey to put you across that I started with something. Then today also I'm continuing a lot of things, but few things that I've kept in mind is focus, team building, then treating customers the way we think we should treat what we are saying we should do it, and expansion in the right way, not in the unrelated activities. Until it is a very compulsion or something else or some other member of a family joins, that's a different thing. But if you as a person, you should completely be focused. And before I open for questions, and this is something very interesting for you all to just, as an entrepreneur, my last thought, a person who risks their own money for freedom rather than exchanging their freedom for money. So it is you who have to decide who you are. If you are an entrepreneur, you will get your freedom, but there are hundreds of chances you will lose money. And if you love money, then don't be an entrepreneur. So be clear in your focus, what you want to be. There's nothing wrong in this world. Doing a job, we require people to do the job also. We require people to be an entrepreneur also. Everybody has their own set of mind. Everybody has their own genes, own things. But whatever you are, one thing is clear. If you are afraid of losing money, then don't be an entrepreneur. And if you love your freedom, you want to experience a lot of things, you want to do a lot of things. Like earlier they said, like apart from doing business, I try to do a lot of other things because I love a balance of life. I think life is one. I should enjoy my different aspects of life in a manner where it brings me complete satisfaction. Of course, by doing that, there are chances that I will not be able to do certain other things, but that is okay. It is my thought process. So my last thought to you all before I open to questions is, India needs entrepreneurs. If we really have to become one of the most advanced country, we need entrepreneurs. There's nothing wrong in being an entrepreneur. Everybody aspires to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be a boss, but that is a wrong term. If you think that you can become a leader, then you are right for the entrepreneur. But if you think you want to become boss, that is the wrong thing. Because as a leader, you will think differently. As a boss, you will think differently. But as an entrepreneur, you will always have to think like a leader. Choose your action, choose your course, whatever your call says. Never let your freedom, never let the thought process, never let your aspirations be guided by others. It can be guided, but it cannot be forced by others. It is you who will decide. The moment you set journey for yourself, you will face a lot of criticism, you will face a lot of problems, and you will face a lot of uncertainty. If you are ready for all these things, then you are an entrepreneur. If not, then you can be anything. So best of luck. And now I can open for questions. Thank you so much for giving us a patience hearing. Yeah, over to you, Banani.
Yes, that was really very, very informative. And I'm sure our students and all the participants have taken back a lot of other words to add on to the list. Who is an entrepreneur, basically? So there are a lot of questions which has flooded the chat room now. I would like to take up the first question, which is from one of the students. He asks you that you had a product USP that fits the market, of course, but how did you manufacture it? And from where did you get the chimney's technical expertise? He wants to know a bit more details about
Yeah.
it.
I hope he's not a computer.
He's a student who's
No,
currently
no,
preparing
no.
himself.
I'm just on the lighter note. I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, actually, uh, uh, I didn't manufacture chimney, and till today we don't manufacture it. I went to an exhibition in Germany. There is an exhibition called Euro Cucina, which is one of the biggest exhibition in the world with related to kitchens. So I went there and I saw 90% of the chimneys were with a filter. Only this one chimney was there. So I asked very enthusiastically that, what is this very different, no filter, nothing. Then they told that this is only for Malaysia and one or two markets because they have got a lot of oil, food and all. So basically they use it, but we don't get much of sale. It is just kept there. So instantly it came to my mind that this is the right product for India because we also use a lot of oil and other things in our kitchen. So instantly it came, and I had a deal with him that I will be the only person to sell in India, and this technology should not be given to anybody in India. So that is how I ventured into it, and I brought it. But coming to a very interesting thing that you first mentioned, that I think you said that how did I fit in the market? No, I didn't. That is an important thing. No, we started chimneys generally come in 2 feet and 3 feet. These are the two sizes. If you check anywhere in the world, either 2 feet or 3 feet. But 2 feet generally our utensils are larger in India. So the smoke actually passes away. The function is not very proper. I introduced the 2.5 feet because that was the actual size for the Indian market. So it took a lot of time to establish and convince customers that 2.5 feet is the thing. So sometimes the product fits the market, and sometimes the market fits the product. So it depends.
Thank you, sir. Our student is benefited a lot by this insight of yours. As another student participant asked regarding the team and the teamwork that you have spoken about, she wants to know that how you had created a team to start the journey in the initial stage of your struggle. Since teamwork is not a very easy task to handle and execute, how you got connected with people with entrepreneurial mindset.
See, firstly, when I started my business, I started with one person as a team. And that person, just this 2 months ago, he retired. So now you can understand when I started at the age of 27 or 24, sorry, I started at the age of 24, he must be at the age of around 35, 36. So he was the first person in my organization. And till 2 months ago, when he retired, he was the most senior person in my organization. So what I did the first thing was I trained my people, and whoever was there, I grew with them, and I promoted them. I never had a person from outside as a senior. The senior used to get promoted from downside because I knew them, they knew my test, I knew them. So we both built in such a way that slowly from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. But every person believed one thing, that if we can deliver, and then we will always remain in this organization as a senior. Sir will not hire suddenly from outside and throw us away. So that was a very strong message and brand building. It took years. It's not easy, it took years. So today I'm very happy that I have a strong team with mix of new and old, but everybody is working in a very harmonious way.
Yes, sir. Also, experience also added the value addition that you talked of, the trust and the experience of the team. So another question that comes to you is during your deliberation, you spoke about that you did not get into a lot of advertising or direct selling. Okay, so the participant basically wants to know, did you take loans for doing advertising initially? How did you rectify not doing advertising and direct selling? Did you take on loans for doing advertising initially?
No, I think maybe he has misunderstood. When I brought my first container, I had invested all my money into that. So I realized that I could not spend any money on advertisement. And without advertisement, actually I had placed my products on credit basis to retail counters. I thought customer will come and buy. It was foolish of me that point of time. No customer came and bought my product. So I had to take all my product back. Then somebody told me that if you want the product to be bought, then you have to advertise. But I didn't have money. So there is a saying that necessity is the mother of all inventions. So I was forced to start direct marketing. Direct marketing means recruiting 2, 3 people, going door to door, taking part in exhibitions, explaining customers and selling 4, 5 products only, 10 products, 20 products. So I started with one, when a whole day I used to stand in the exhibition and I used to shout and convince customers to buy product. So end of the day, maybe I used to sell 5 products. So that is how it took slowly. And because of direct marketing, you can explain the customer directly the product. You don't need to go through advertising. So slowly I built my money through that. So it took 3, 4 years to build my money. And then after 4, 5 years, of course, I started advertising. And then I started into retailing once again.
Yes. Question that is there in the chat room is also something related to the fund procurement, the problem of fund procurement. One of our professors in Royal School of Business wants to know from you that it is no doubt a truth, a real truth, that determining the right value of a startup is never easy. So how would you like to address the problem of fund procurement? Maybe your suggestions, your insights will help a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs with this question.
Yeah, talking about our days is different from talking today. When I started business, there was a lot of time. We didn't have so much of ambition. We never thought that we'll be very successful. Honestly, at that point of time, we never thought we'll be successful. The only thing in my mind was that we should survive. So there was no luxury, nothing in mind. Today, when we talk about startup, when the word startup comes, the first thing comes in the mind of any person is valuation, money. That is the biggest mistake that we are doing in India. बोलते ना भेड़ चाल, one startup is successful, thousands people are thinking that everybody will be successful, we'll create a USP model and it will be sold at a X and X price. So it is true that today the funding has become a very difficult issue. The difficulty is that the people who wants to invest fund are not very hopeful, because in the past in India we have done a lot of bad things to them. We have shown a very lucrative business, took a lot of money, eventually the business got failed. So now the investors have become very smart. So it is very difficult to get funding till the time you have a very strong business plan, number one. Number two, any investor would first like you to go through the struggle, would like you to get successful in a miniature form. Then you can think of valuation. Problem is we only see successful 1%. We don't see 99% failures. So my only saying is, today the business opportunities are there, but our expectations have become manifold. If we lower our expectations and think of working in a manner which will actually bring value addition, think of working really hard, putting in a heart and head in the business. Investors understands, because they are more smarter than us. They will really understand that, okay, this business will survive, because they don't see business, they see promoter. If the promoter is right, you have to believe it, they can sense in one meeting. They can sense in one meeting if you are a true promoter or not. So if the promoter is right, if you are really hardworking, if you are sincere towards your business, if your ideas are right, you will eventually get a fund. But of course, you need to struggle. And don't think of some dream figures from the day one. Think of getting the business successful. That is more important.
Yes, sir. That will be really helpful. I think so. Sir's question is answered well. The next question that comes to us is regarding the failure. And you have already mentioned in your deliberation that failures are indeed the pillars of success. And it requires for an entrepreneur to really bounce back every time. Still, we have a question on the same line, which says, like, sir, how entrepreneurs should deal with deal a failure, or when they face losses in their business, at the very starting time? What is actually required, the characteristic in an entrepreneur to deal with this kind of a situation?
See, characteristic, as I said, is required is a belief, number one. Belief on yourself and flexibility. Flexibility. Understand whether the failure is because of external situation or the failure is because of internal situation. Because failure can be only because of this two. Either the external factors like market or the product or something which is not acceptable. Like today, if I think of marketing pager, it will not work. So similarly, if it is internal, like maybe you have done some mistake or your team is not right or your business model is not right, so just take a back seat. When you are the best thing is if you are failing or the biggest problem is our mood, it becomes suddenly very low. The best thing is take a break for 2 days. Just take a break. Don't think anything. Again, you will come back with a renewed energy. Again, start thinking fresh. What is the reason? Then apply with that new energy, new idea. Again, apply. There are chances that you will get to understand the thing and bounce back. Secondly, be flexible. It is not necessary that you have failed at one thing, you will fail at another. Just to answer, actually, before I started my own brand, when I was doing distributorship, I also started one more business in my own brand, cosmetics. I started selling all those powders and lipsticks and other things. But it was stupid on my part because the cosmetic is a very big area and I don't know anything about it. I started it and I failed. But it doesn't mean that if I failed in one thing, I'll fail in another thing. So keep hope. But the only thing I'm saying is take backseat, lie low, think, come out of the setback mentally, again think, and then again put your plans in action.
Yes, another very, very like a question that will really help the youngsters. The participant asks, do you think or do you agree that a few years of intrapreneurial experience is a good plan for those considering taking the entrepreneurial plunge?
As I said earlier also, if you can get a parallel way of learning, that you are studying also, doing something also, like as I said earlier also, in Marwadi community particularly, it is a trend that, not now, but earlier it used to be a trend that the moment you have passed your board exams, you have to work and study in the morning college or the evening college. You are not allowed to study in the day college because then the time is wasted. I think that has made us very strong. That has given us a very strong background of knowing certain practical things and also knowing the things that we are learning. In fact, my father, when I told my father when I was in class 11, I told my father that no matter what, I will do my business in future. I will never do a job. So he said very clearly, if you really want to do a business, then at least 3 to 4 years you do service so that you know the other side. Once you know the other side, it will be easy for you to handle from this side. So that is one of the best advice I think I've got from my father. So it is best thing if you can get that experience. And honestly speaking, we all have time. It is just we don't want to utilize the time in the best possible way. So we say we are studying, we are doing MBA, so we don't have time. Actually, everybody has that time. 2 hours, 3 hours, everybody can do something.
Yes, of course, sir. So another question that is very relevant to the aspect of entrepreneurship. Another thing, like with entrepreneurship also comes the importance of employment. So one of the participants puts up a question here: what do you look for in an employee? And the most important thing to us, the participant also shares that the most important thing to the employer is that the employee should fit into the corporate culture. So what are your views on this?
See, honestly, now when the organization becomes big, there are HR department who takes care of interviews, blah blah blah. When I take an interview, I don't go through any of those resume. For me, that is not important. In resume, only 2 things are important: how frequently he has changed the job. That is only important to me, because if he has not stayed at one place more than a year, 2 year, 3 year, that means he's not a stable-minded person. Secondly, to me, I can make him fit into my culture. I know I don't have a problem. It is my house, so I need the other person to come and get adjusted, so I can get it fitted. Only thing that I think important is he should not have an ego issue. He should not have an attitude problem to get to learn new things, to get adjusted to the new environment. And let me tell you one thing: any organization can work with a little lesser efficient person, but not with a person who has got ego and attitude. That he will never be able to be successful in the organization. So even the best of the person, if they have shown attitude, unnecessary attitude, or ego, or inflexibility, rigidity, immediately we try to throw him out. We rather hire a little lesser efficient guys because we know we can train him up to that level what we require. So I think that is one of the most important things.
Thank you, sir. Sir, before we are already running ahead of, like we have covered more than the time that was allotted to us, but I'd like to wind up this session with one last question that has come from one of our participants. Looking into the current situation of uncertainty, what piece of advice would you like to give to the aspiring entrepreneurs or students who are aspiring to venture into the field of entrepreneurship? Finally, summing up the Dare to Dream quotation of today's talk.
The one thing I'll tell you, I feel jealous of all the students right now. I feel really jealous for two reasons. Because of the COVID situation, all the businesses are in problem. We are already into business. We are already entrepreneurs, and we don't know what to do. We rather don't know what is our future. You students are aspiring entrepreneurs. By the time you actually get into the field, the COVID situation will go away. You will forget what was COVID. So you are in the best situation. Number two, I always wanted to bunk classes, and you are getting the best of it. Online classes without attending comfort of your home. I know wearing the upper half with a tie and uniform, the lower half is Bermudas. So I think you are enjoying the best part of life as a student. So just enjoy it. You, at least as a student, don't worry about COVID. Just forget COVID. This is there. It will go maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, and after 6 months or 8 months, you will not even remember that there was a situation like this. Rather, I'll say, last piece of advice, that this COVID has brought in a lot of new thinking. We never thought that we'll be giving lectures, you'll be attending classes on Zoom and sitting all across India, everywhere, though the platform was already there from so many years. But now that is the time that we started utilizing it. And we are saving so much of money by doing this. So a lot of things have changed. So start observing things which have changed, which will change post-COVID. Plan your entrepreneurial ideas and business ideas post-COVID. Forget everything about pre-COVID. Now the entire business way will change. And you are the best situated person because you will get to know the best things in the new era, not in the post era. In fact, kiddingly, I think a time will come when we will say, we say na, AD and BC. I think we will say pre-COVID, post-COVID. So everything will change. So as a student, I will say just keep yourself safe for the time being, lie low, observe, things are changing, use those things for an entrepreneurial beginning post-COVID.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for creating such a positive aura through today's discussion and helping all our participants to gather and accumulate so many learnings from today's session. Many takeaways that they could benefit themselves with by listening to you. So with this, we come to the end of today's speaker series. At the very outset, I extend heartfelt gratitude and sincere words of thanks to Shri Namit Bajoria ji for accepting our invitation. It was an absolute pleasure listening to your insightful ideas and stories, and I'm sure all our listeners have benefited from this session. We are also thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for the constant guidance as we foray ahead with our endeavors to stay connected even with the distance. On behalf of the entire RGU family, I also thank our management for the untiring support. Special thanks also to Honorable Chancellor, Dr. A.K. Pansari, for joining us today in spite of all his busy schedules.
Ani, would you allow me to speak 2 words for Mr. Nam?
Sorry. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So initially, like you mentioned that you'll not like to join, so I moved ahead.
In
Yes, sir.
fact, I became so excited that it will be apt to give my concluding remarks. Such an excellent oratorship with huge content strength of Bajoria. I must congratulate Mr. Bajoria for having spoken so nicely on the topic Dream, Dare to Dream. In fact, a good friend of mine, and we have a long story of becoming good friend. We went to Singapore together for a holiday in way back in 1999, and he thought of starting some business in northeastern region, and I invited him to see Guwahati, and then he started a small unit in Guwahati. Probably, to my knowledge, this is his best branch in giving him the highest turnover amongst his all the branches. Namit had been a very successful entrepreneur, I know. And I also know that he is blessed with so many good things. But today I have come to know that why God is so kind to him. Namit, as you are bringing comfort and happiness to our mothers, to our sisters, to our wife, by making the kitchen so beautiful, that is why God is probably so kind of you. We have learned so many things from you. And you have rightly said that when we see the head of any organization from the boss perspective, it is always wrong. Rather, I will say the right perspective will be the way our honorable Prime Minister see his position in respect of our country, and he calls himself as the Pradhan Sevak. I believe every head of organization is rather than a boss, is the Pradhan Sevak of his organization in respect to his employees, in respect to the customers, in respect to the social organizations, in relation to his organization, he is the Pradhan Sevak. Namit, I have also two ingredients in your language, as you said, Christian has the word ingredient of my objective. One, stop exodus of the students from our region. By imparting quality education through our institution, we have partially succeeded in giving some kind of seats to this exodus of the students. My other ingredient is to produce the highest number of entrepreneurs in this part of the country. Even the aim of the country, we have the national agenda where we say that if India wants to become superpower by 2030, India will have to produce a lot of entrepreneurs. And this is my mission that northeastern regions should have huge number of entrepreneurs rather than job seeker, they should be job creator. You have really been a very grand, successful entrepreneur in the entire eastern region. I have seen you grow from zero to hero, 250 plus crore. And in fact, you could be a role model for our students more than a man like Ambani, because our students will have a very fair chance of becoming Bajoria rather than Ambani, which could be 1 in 100 crore. But to become Bajoria, the chances will be much more. Listening to your journey of success, I am sure they have learned a lot. Too many things we have learned in today's talk. But one important thing which I think we must try to bring home is the fact that this COVID-19 is the time for all of us to sharpen the axe. This sharpening of axe could be different way for different. For a student, it could be a different thing. For a teacher, it could be different. For we entrepreneur, it could be different. But I think we have learned the lesson that the best way of using this COVID-19 time is to sharpen our axe. With this, some of the remarks by me, and I must not forget to tell that Mr. S.P. Singh in the beginning remark, he said that he himself is an entrepreneur. Dr. Singh, I salute you. You are a real successful entrepreneur. You are the guru of many entrepreneurs who are going to be successful entrepreneurs in times to come. And managing such a big university with 700 employees, it's not only the academic which you are well taking care of. Doing well management of such a big, huge university, the administration, the academics, the future plans. This is what any successful entrepreneur does. And you are doing it in a very, very excellent manner. I congratulate you. And I must tell my students that while Mr. Singh had the passion of becoming academician, and he could be a very successful academician. He is a great entrepreneur, a role model. With these concluding remarks, I congratulate once again Mr. Bajoria for his successful journey as a successful entrepreneur. And today you have shown the right path to my students, how to become success in their life, how to become an entrepreneur. Really, I am very proud of a friend like you, Mr. Namit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Pansari, for such kind words. We go a long way, and a lot of things we share with each other. I learned from you. You have maybe learned today something, but it is more important that we learn from each other. Small, big doesn't matter. Important thing is that we learn and grow. That is the most important thing. And finally, thank you, Banani and Professor Singh and entire Global School of Business and Education for giving me this platform to share my thoughts, which was, I also think that certain things will bring benefit to the future students, future entrepreneurs. It will be my delight if they can become successful. It will be really a pleasure for me also. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for all your time. So finally, a big shout out and thank you to all the participants for all the interesting questions, and without whom this webinar wouldn't have seen the light of the day. On this note, we formally come to the close of this program and we depart with the promise to meet again in the next event coming up soon. Till then, stay safe, stay indoors, stay protected.
Thank you. Thank you, Namitji. Thank you, Banani. Thank you, everyone.